All right, hey y'all. Um, I guess this is part two. I hit the wrong button on the camera on the previous video. My fault. Okay. Anyway, all right. Now I've got my lubricating grease out, engine assembly grease, engine assembly lube, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it. This is the stuff that I like to use. This is Lubriplate number 105. Engine assembly grease or motor assembly grease as they put on here. I guess it depends on what your terminology. A couple little dabs here on the bearings, and not a great deal. If you get some down in the groove, just run your finger down in there and get the rest of it out. Okay, it's not rocket science here. Okay, you just want to get the lubricating grease on there. Now when the crank goes in here, it's going to go and it's going to mash all of this grease up and push it everywhere and everything else. Basically, what you want to do, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to like give a film of lubricant for the bearings, the bearing surfaces, and the crank. I'm trying to protect the crank until that first fire up, or until we get the oil pump in here rotating around, with maybe a drill or something. We'll prime it with a drill and get everything primed up, and also have this grease in there, this engine assembly grease in there, or lubricant, so that we can, when the engine first fires, we have that in there, that there's some lubricating grease in there. I keep calling it grease. It's a lubricant. So there we go. All right, get that out of that groove there. Now you'll notice these bearings, the top portion has a groove, the bottom portion does not. These are a half groove bearing. You can get them with a full groove if you want. I normally don't lubricate the journals on the crank. I go through and I just put the lubricant on the bearing surfaces themselves, and then I put the crank into the bearings. Just a little bit more on this bearing. I was a little stingy, I guess. Okay, so there we go. You want to put the lid back on your lubricant because you don't want any dirt getting down in there. That's absolutely imperative. Basically, what you want to do is you want to try to create the best clean environment for your engine as possible. Now, you notice I said your engine. I'm not saying your Dodge engine. I'm not saying your Chevrolet, your Toyota, your Ford, your Honda, Nissan engine. I'm saying your engine. Okay, so everything I'm talking about here can apply to every engine out there. And you don't have to have thousands and thousands of dollars in equipment to do this. But you do have to have some intelligence. You do have to have a little bit of intelligence at least. You just want to be careful at this step. If you're not, you can really gouge something up. nick one of the journal surfaces very easily with a sharp edge of on the block or something like that. Now, that was a very critical step. When you're putting the crank down in here, you want to do it nice, gentle. Okay? You don't want to wham. You want to go easy down in there. You don't want to throw it in there. Okay? Now, in the previous video, I mentioned plastic gauge. Okay? And in the previous video, I went and I measured everything with my vernier caliper, my calipers. Now, you can use either one of those methods to check the clearances. I did not feel comfortable with the plastic gauge. I've used it before. It's done a really good job, but this time I wanted to use my calipers and get the measurements. I got the measurements, checked them. Everything is within spec. So we're good to go. Okay, next is going to be the main bearing caps, but I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant engine assembly lube on each one of these main journals. Okay, so that's going to be my next move. Right. So here we go. Just a little bit. So there we go. Now, I've already done this once before with this very same engine. And so I could be like, you know, go and clean all my bearings back off, clean all the grease back off of them and everything like that. But it's not necessary. There's no hair or dirt or trash or anything in them. Okay. Oh, one other little tip. You're going to notice this right here. Two other tips, actually. You're going to notice this right here. You see the tang right there? See that little tang right there, that little notch? Okay. The main bearing cap has a corresponding notch. Now, in the block, there is a corresponding notch in the block. So again, see right there? See the corresponding notch? Now, this goes like this. So this corresponding notch goes on the same side as this corresponding notch. It's just that when you flip it over, it's going to be on this side here rather than this side. So they both are on this side of the engine though. Okay? You see where I'm talking? You see what I'm talking about? See where I'm going with that? Now we'll just spread a little bit about there. Okay. Now you might be a little bit concerned about the lubricant, that the engine assembly lube I put on here, and that some of it is in the journal hole, the oil hole in the journal. I wouldn't be terribly concerned about that because of this simple little fact right here. The oil pumps in these engines can put out about I've seen them put out 60 pounds of oil pressure stock. So, and I'm talking stock with like an engine that has a lot of miles on it too. So I'm not terribly concerned about that lubricant in those journal holes. Okay? It's not that important to me. So, move on. Alright, I'm going to pause this video for just a minute. I'm going to put the rest of the main caps back on, and I'm going to start torquing stuff down. Okay? But But this is all looking fantastic to me. And I'm really, really excited about how all of this is coming together. It's just looking really, really great. I'll be back in just a minute.